He threw a Coke can at me. That was it. It was basically Jorge and I would go back and forth with just sort of little digs at each other for fun. I didn't realize how sensitive he was. I found that out later that a lot of the stories about him, they all have the same basic setup and payoff, which is that he goes back and forth to someone, they get the upper hand verbally, and he cheap shots them because he gets angry. The famous one about him beating up Sheamus, what had actually happened was it was in the trainer's room, and Sheamus was on the medical table getting his ankle taped. And Jorge ran up and punched him. So it's literally, Sheamus is like in no sort of a defensible position. It's not like he's like standing on his own 2 feet looking dead at him. It's like he's, sitting there on a table getting his ankle taped, and Jorge runs up and punches him for that because he got a good one in as far as the insults went. It was pretty much the same thing that happened with me and him. Was we were sort of trading little digs, and I got one in that was a bit stiff, and I found out after the fact that I apparently hit a nerve because of some stuff that had happened to him personally that I didn't know about. So I look back down at my plate, and all of a sudden I feel I just stand up and yell, "What the fuck?" because my face started hurting, and I couldn't see anything, and I just didn't know what was going on, and I was slowly piecing it together. I'm just like, I smelled Diet Coke. Why is my shirt wet? And then my vision started to sort of clear, and as it cleared, I saw Jorge rounding the table and running at me. And he sort of tried to do almost a double leg on me, and out of instinct, I reached around his neck, and I just basically headlocked him. I grabbed him by around the neck, and then I grabbed his tricep, and I pulled him tight to my body and started leaning on him. And I just started going, "Dude, what the fuck? What the fuck?" Because I didn't know what was going on. And then we just got pulled apart. Maybe we were struggling for maybe 10, 15 seconds. And people got involved, pulled us apart, and I'm still wondering what's going on because I have obviously a concussion from getting hit in the face. And he's just yelling, "Fuck you, motherfucker, fuck you." I'm like, dude, what the fuck? We talked about it after the fact. I complimented him on his throw because he actually hit me dead in the eye with like the bottom of the can, which is really impressive. Now, someone made a joke actually I saw on Twitter where, because I guess he threw a chair at Corbin during a match, and they said if you believe Simon Gotch, Sin Cara actually has really good aim with that chair. I believe it. Because he threw apparently he threw it underhand too, like a ninja, like a shuriken, just like from the hip almost, and it was just caught me dead on. If it hadn't hurt so bad, I would have been more impressed, but it hurt really bad. I genuinely didn't see it coming. So,
I guess.
But yeah. Like I said, it was pretty much the same thing with a lot of the stories about him are kind of exaggerated because whoever leaks them is never there. I can almost guarantee that. I've heard whispers of who the Meltzer source is. I don't say it simply because I have no corroboration. I only have someone saying they think this is the guy it likely is because of some of the stuff they've heard him say personally versus what Meltzer parrots. But a lot of the story, like there's a similar occurrence where I guess in developmental in FCW, Sin Cara got into it. Jorge did with Bray Wyatt, and it was the same thing. Bray got a good dig in on him, and Jorge got mad and tried to like double leg Bray, and Bray was an amateur wrestler. His dad was an amateur wrestler. It's like he sprawled out and just put his weight on top of him. It's like, I ain't moving until you stop. 300 pounds. Jorge is a strong guy, but he ain't that strong. So he was just sort of stuck underneath him until he calmed down. But yeah, a lot of those stories get blown out of proportion. The same thing like the Jericho thing. It was basically Jorge got mad, he tried to tackle Jericho. Jericho held him off until such time as they got pulled apart, and nothing happened. But that's not the interesting story. You tell the story that's most interesting, because that's what gets you clicks on your website.